My family stole $133,000 from me for my spoiled sister's luxury vacation. But when I reported the fraud and got every cent back, my parents lost their house and my sister ended up working at Starbucks. They never saw what was coming. I'm 29 years old. I work in finance. And about 6 months ago, my family basically stole $133,000 from me to pay for my younger sister's luxury vacation. Yeah, you read that right. $133,000. And no, I'm not exaggerating even a little bit. The thing is, I need to tell this story because there are still people in my family who think that I'm the bad guy here, which is completely ridiculous. That's how things are when you have a dysfunctional family. I guess I should start from the beginning so you understand the full context. I'm the oldest son. I was always the responsible one, the one who got good grades, the one who got scholarships for college, the one who started working since I was 16, so I wouldn't depend on my parents. My sister Nicole, on the other hand, is 6 years younger than me and was basically the princess of the family since she was born. It's not that I resent that. I mean, it's normal for parents to treat their kids differently, but with Nicole it was a whole other level. If I asked for something, it was no son. You have to earn it, work for it. If Nicole asked for the same thing, my parents would move heaven and earth to give it to her. When I graduated from college, my parents gave me a dinner at Olive Garden. That was my entire graduation gift, an $80 dinner for the four of us. And, it was fine. I wasn't expecting much more because I always understood that money wasn't plentiful at home and that I was adult enough to fend for myself. But when Nicole graduated this year, it was a whole production. Party with like 150 guests, $800 dress, catering, decorations, the whole thing. And I'm there thinking, well, I guess things have changed financially for my parents in these years. Maybe they're doing better now. The thing is that I, as the responsible older brother that I am, wanted to give Nicole a decent graduation gift. Nothing extravagant, but something useful. I bought her a new laptop, a MacBook Pro, because she was studying graphic design and needed something good for her career. It cost me like $2,500, which was a lot of money for me, but she was my sister and I wanted to do something nice for her. I gave it to her at the graduation party and she didn't even thank me properly. It was just, oh, okay, cool, thanks. And she kept talking to her friends. My parents didn't say much either. My mom just commented something like, "How generous you are, Brandon." But with that tone she had, that meant something else. You know what I mean? 2 weeks after graduation, I got a call from my mom on a Tuesday afternoon. I was at the office finishing some reports, and I saw she was calling. Normally I didn't answer when I was working, but something told me I should answer that time, and that's where everything started going to hell. My mom was super excited on the phone, talking really fast, and she tells me, "Brandon, I have the best news. We booked Nicole her dream trip to Europe. It's going to be incredible. A full month visiting 9 countries, 5-star hotels, private tours, all inclusive." And I'm there okay, that sounds expensive, but, well, if you guys can afford it, that's fine. But then she continues and says, "Yes, it's a bit costly, but you have good credit, so we used your card to book everything. It's all paid for and confirmed." I swear I had to ask her to repeat that because I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I said, "Mom, what do you mean you used my card?" And she all casual says, "Oh, Brandon, Nicole had your card from that time you took her to dinner a few months ago, remember? Well, she kept it, and since we knew you'd want to do something special for your sister for her graduation, we used the card to book this wonderful trip. It's going to be the experience of her life." I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. I asked her how much everything cost, and she got all defensive, why does that matter? It's a gift for your sister. You should be happy for her. But I insisted, and finally she tells me it's nothing. Well, the total was $133,000, but it's all in interest-free installments for 24 months. So it's only $5,500 a month. You make good money. You can pay it easily. I don't know if you've ever been literally speechless, but I couldn't even breathe properly in that moment. $133,000 on my credit card, without my permission. to pay for my 2-3-year-old sister's month-long vacation in Europe, and my mom acting like this was the most normal thing in the world, like I should be grateful to have the privilege of paying for this. I told her mom, "This is fraud. You can't use my card without my permission." And she got even more upset and tells me, "Don't be dramatic, Brandon. We're family. Families help each other. Besides, the money we spent raising you was much more than this, so you basically owe us." I was like, "What? Did you really just say that?" And I tried to explain to her that this wasn't legal, that I hadn't authorized any of these purchases, that they needed to cancel everything immediately. But she just kept talking, saying I'd always been selfish, that I never supported the family, that Nicole deserved this after working so hard in college, which is funny because Nicole failed like 3 classes and had to take summer courses, but whatever. She told me that if I canceled anything or caused problems, she and my dad would never forgive me, that I was going to regret ruining this special moment for my sister. I hung up the phone because I literally couldn't keep listening to that craziness. I immediately opened my bank app and almost had a heart attack when I saw the statement. There it all was, charge after charge after charge. Business class flights, luxury hotel reservations in Paris, Rome, Barcelona, London, Amsterdam, Prague, Vienna, Berlin, and Munich. Private tours, Michelin star restaurants. They'd even booked a 4-day Mediterranean cruise. The amount was surreal. And then I realized Nicole never gave me back my card. We'd gone to dinner like 2 months earlier to celebrate that she'd gotten her first job after graduating, which, by the way, she quit after 2 weeks because the boss was too demanding, according to her. I paid the bill and gave my card to the waiter. Nicole was sitting next to me, and apparently when the waiter brought it back, she grabbed it and kept it. And I didn't even notice because I was distracted talking to the waiter about I don't know what. I tried calling my dad to see if he was more reasonable, but he basically told me the same thing as my mom, just in a calmer tone. He told me, "Brandon, I understand you're surprised, but it's done. The trip is booked. Nicole is super excited. We can't cancel now without losing the deposit money. Just pay it. It's 24 months. You won't even feel the impact on your finances. And besides, don't you want your sister to have good memories of you as the brother who made the trip of her life possible?" I told him, "Dad, this is a crime. You literally stole my information and used my money without permission." And he got upset and tells me, "Don't use those words. We simply borrowed. Your family and family supports each other." I couldn't believe it. My own parents justifying fraud of over $100,000 as if it were something normal. I told them clearly that I was going to cancel everything, that I was going to report the fraud to the card company, that this wasn't going to stay like this. My dad told me that if I did that, I was going to destroy the family, that Nicole would be devastated, that my parents would never forgive me. I told him I didn't care, that they were the ones who decided to do this without consulting me, and I hung up. But then they started calling me nonstop. My mom, my dad, even Nicole, called me crying, saying I was a horrible brother. How could I be so cruel to ruin her dream trip, that I already told all her friends and had planned everything, that if I canceled anything, she would never forgive me. And I'm like, really? She would never forgive me after basically stealing $133,000 from me? The pressure was unbearable. They called all the time, sent me messages. My uncles even started contacting me, saying I was being unreasonable, that I should let Nicole have this experience. I felt like I was going crazy because nobody seemed to understand that what they'd done was wrong. Like, super wrong. Like, criminally wrong. 3 days after that first call, Nicole and my parents left for Europe anyway. I had threatened to cancel everything, but honestly, I didn't really know how to do it without making an even bigger mess, and they were counting on that. My mom sent me a message the day they left, saying, "Thanks for being understanding. I knew you'd do the right thing in the end. Take care of the house while we're gone." I didn't even respond. And here comes the part that still makes my blood boil. Nicole started posting on Instagram photos from the trip. Every day there were like 20 stories of her in different places, showing off the hotels, the food, the views, everything. And in one of the photos, you know what the shameless girl did? She took a photo of her suitcase with several luggage tags hanging, and one of them was my credit card. Literally, my card stuck there like it was a trophy, with my name completely visible. And the caption said something like, living my best life thanks to the best graduation gifts. When I saw that, something in me broke. It wasn't just the money or the betrayal anymore, it was the absolute lack of respect, the blatant mockery. This 3-year-old girl was publicly bragging that she was spending my money without any shame. And even worse, several of her friends commented things like, "Wow, your brother is amazing. I'm so jealous. I wish I had a brother like that." And I'm there thinking, they have no idea this was theft, that I didn't authorize any of this. I called the credit card company immediately. I explained the whole situation to the representative, told him my family had used my card without permission, that I needed to report fraud and reverse all the charges. The guy was nice but gave me bad news. He told me that because it was my sister and my parents who had made the charges, and because technically she had physical possession of my card, the company couldn't consider it fraud in the legal sense, unless I wanted to press criminal charges against my family. He explained the whole process, and honestly, it sounded super complicated. But then the representative told me something interesting. He said, "Sir, although we can't cancel the charges as fraud right now, you're the account holder and can freeze the card at any time. If you freeze the account, no future charges will be approved, and any reservation that requires the active card could be affected. You can also contact the hotels and airlines directly to inform them that those reservations were made without your authorization." And that's when the light bulb went on. If I couldn't cancel what was already done, at least I could make sure the rest of the trip went to hell. I know it sounds vindictive, and maybe it was, but at that moment I was beyond anger. I was at a level of fury I'd never felt before. I spent the next 6 hours on the phone. I called every airline that appeared on my statement. I called every hotel. I called the tour companies. I explained to each one that I was the card holder, that those reservations had been made without my authorization, and that I wanted all future reservations to be canceled, or at least marked with a note that the card holder was disputing the charges. Some places were more cooperative than others. A hotel in Rome told me they couldn't cancel without penalty, but they agreed to put a note on the reservation. The airline for the return flight was the most helpful. They said they were going to mark the tickets as possibly fraudulent, and that the passengers would have to verify at the counter. They couldn't check in online. Several of the tours I simply canceled directly. They were super understanding when I explained the situation. And then, the final blow. I completely froze my credit card account. I didn't just block the physical card, I froze the entire account. That meant any charge they tried to make, even recurring or pre-authorized charges, would be rejected immediately. The first 2 days, nothing happened. Nicole kept posting happy photos in Paris. But then, like on the 3rd day, the messages started. First, it was Nicole saying her card wasn't working. My card, technically, that she'd tried to pay at a restaurant and it was declined. What was going on? I responded with something very simple: return what you stole. Then the furious messages started. My mom yelling at me in voice messages about how dare I ruin their trip, that they were being embarrassed, that the card was being declined everywhere. My dad trying to be more diplomatic, but basically asking me to unblock the card immediately. And I simply didn't respond or told them that it was my card. And I decided when and how to use it. Things got better. Turns out, several of the more expensive hotels had canceled their reservations when I called, so Nicole and my parents had to find last-minute accommodation. They ended up in much cheaper hotels in worse locations. The tours that were already paid for weren't refunded, but the future tours were canceled, so basically they had to improvise everything. And without my card working, they had to use the money they'd brought, which apparently wasn't much because they were counting on charging everything to my account. Nicole stopped posting on Instagram for like 4 days. When she posted again, they were no longer photos of luxury hotels but of cheap hostels and Airbnbs. No longer fancy restaurants but supermarket food they ate in parks. And I'm not going to lie, there was a part of me that felt vindicated seeing how the luxury trip turned into a disaster. But the best part came when they tried to return. Remember the airline marked their return tickets? Well, when they tried to check in for the flight back home, they were stopped at the counter. The airline told them there was a dispute with the payment method, and they couldn't board without resolving the issue first. My parents had to buy new tickets with their own money, in economy class, and they had to wait 2 more days because there wasn't immediate availability. Nicole called me crying from the airport in London, saying all this was my fault, that she'd just wanted a nice vacation, that I was a terrible brother. And I told her very clearly, give me back my card, give me back my money, and never steal from me again, or this is going to be much worse. She just cried and screamed that she didn't steal anything, that Mom and Dad had told her I was okay with it. When they finally returned to the United States like a week and a half later, things got even more intense. I had decided I wasn't going to let this go just like that, so I went to the police station and filed a formal fraud report. I gave them all the documentation, the statements, the text messages where my mom admitted to using my card, everything. The officer who helped me was very professional and explained that this definitely qualified as identity fraud and unauthorized use of a credit card, that these were serious criminal offenses. I didn't expect the police to act so fast, but turns out when you arrive at the airport after an international trip and there's a fraud report of over $100,000 with your name, the authorities intercept you. My parents and Nicole were detained at the airport for questioning. They weren't arrested, just questioned. But apparently it was super awkward and embarrassing because it happened in the middle of the airport with other people watching. My mom called me from the airport absolutely furious, screaming that I'd gone too far. How dare I call the police, that I was destroying the family. I told her very calmly that she destroyed the family when she stole $133,000 from my account, and I hung up. 2 days later, they showed up at my house. All 3 of them. They rang the doorbell at like 7 inches the morning on a Saturday, and when I opened the door, there they were, with those faces of indignation and victimization that only they could pull off. My mom immediately started yelling at me that I should be ashamed, that I'd ruined Nicole's trip, that I'd made the police question them like they were criminals, which, technically, they were. Nicole was in the back crying dramatically, saying I'd ruined her graduation trip, that all her friends had seen how she went from 5-star hotels to crappy hostels, that she would never forgive me. And I just thought, really? She wasn't going to forgive me? My dad was the only one not yelling, but his silence was almost worse. He just looked at me with that disappointed face, as if I was the one who'd done something wrong. He finally spoke and told me they'd come to give me a chance to fix things, that if I withdrew the police report and paid the card balance, they'd be willing to forgive me and move forward as a family. And that's when something in me definitely broke forever. I told them very clearly that I wasn't withdrawing anything, that I wasn't paying a cent. My mom started screaming that I was ungrateful, that after everything they'd done for me, this is how I repaid them. And I told her, Mom, you literally stole $133,000 from me. There's nothing you've done for me that justifies that. Nicole tried to approach me with a sad puppy face, saying, Brandon, please, I'm your sister. How can you do this to me? And I stepped back and told her, Nicole, you stole my credit card, used it for a ridiculously expensive trip, and then bragged about it on Instagram like it was a trophy. Don't come now playing the victim. My mom then changed tactics and started with how I owed the family. That they raised me, gave me education. False. I paid for my college. Gave me a roof until he was 18, which is literally their legal obligation, and that now that they finally needed something from me, I was being difficult. I reminded her that I never asked them to spend my money on Nicole, that if they wanted to give her a $133,000 trip, they should pay for it themselves. The argument kept escalating until I finally told them to get out of my house, that they weren't welcome, and that if they didn't leave, I was going to call the police again. My dad looked at me and said, if we do this, if we leave now, there's no going back. You're going to lose your family. And I told him, then, I guess I don't have a family anymore, and closed the door. I heard my mom yelling from outside horrible things, that I was a terrible son, that I was going to regret it, that someday I was going to need my family, and nobody would be there for me. But I just stood there on the other side of the door, shaking with rage and also something else, like a mix of fear and relief. The following weeks were legal chaos. The credit card company opened a formal investigation. With the police report and all the evidence I'd collected, including the text messages where my mom admitted to using my card and the Instagram photo of Nicole with my card as a luggage tag, The case was basically impossible to deny. My parents hired a lawyer who tried to negotiate, offering to pay the money in installments over 5 years without admitting guilt. I rejected the offer. I didn't want installments. I wanted the full amount to be reversed, and I wanted them to face real legal consequences. The card company finally ruled in my favor. They determined the charges were fraudulent because they weren't authorized by the account holder, and they reversed the full $133,000. Everything. Every single cent. It was a process of like 3 months, but in the end, my account was completely clean, as if nothing had happened. But obviously, the credit card company wasn't going to lose $133,000 just like that, so they went after my parents legally to recover the money. I don't know exactly how that process ended because I wasn't involved anymore, but I heard from my uncles that my parents had to take out a second mortgage on their house to pay. Nicole had to get a real job because apparently my parents couldn't support her like before. I heard she's working at a Starbucks, which is ironic considering she spent like $3,000 on meals at restaurants during her failed trip. It's been 6 months since all this. My family has contacted me a few times, mainly my dad trying to be the mediator, saying we all need to get over it and move forward. But every time he suggests that, I ask him, did Nicole and Mom admit what they did was wrong? And he goes quiet or says something like, well, they feel you overreacted, and then I know there's no point continuing the conversation. My mom sent me a message on my birthday last month. It just said, "Happy birthday, Brandon. I hope you're happy with your decisions." I didn't even respond. Nicole blocked me on all social media, which honestly is a relief because I don't have to see any more of her drama. Some relatives tried to make me feel guilty, saying family is the most important thing, that I should forgive and forget. But the thing is, I'm not asking for a perfect apology or elaborate forgiveness. I just want them to admit that stealing $133,000 from my account without permission was wrong. And apparently that's too much to ask. I've been going to therapy, which has helped a lot. My therapist tells me that setting boundaries with toxic family is one of the hardest things anyone can do. But it's also necessary for your own mental health. And she's right. I mean, these 6 months without the constant drama from my family have been the most peaceful I've had in years. My friends have been incredible. When I told them everything that happened, they were shocked. Several of them have complicated families too, so they understood me. One of my best friends told me he would have done exactly the same thing, that $133,000 isn't an amount you just forgive and forget. Financially, I'm fine. Fortunately, everything was reversed before I had to make real payments, so my credit didn't suffer permanent damage. I changed all my banking information, got new cards, even changed my phone number because my mom wouldn't stop calling me from unknown numbers. Sometimes I wonder if I did the right thing. Sometimes I think, maybe I should have been more flexible. Maybe I should have accepted a payment plan from them. But then I remember that Instagram photo of Nicole with my card as a luggage tag, publicly bragging that she was using my money without my permission, and the doubt disappears. No, I definitely did the right thing. The truth is, I don't miss my family as much as I thought I would. I miss the idea of having a functional family, but I don't miss the drama, the manipulation, or the constant feeling that I was wrong for having boundaries and reasonable expectations. I don't miss being made to feel guilty for not wanting to pay $133,000 for my sister's whim. I've started rebuilding what family means to me. My close friends, my girlfriend, who came into my life like 3 months after all this mess and has been incredibly understanding. Some distant cousins who contacted me when they found out about everything and supported me. Those are the people I consider my family now. Nicole turns 24 inches 2 weeks. I'm not planning to send her anything. My mom will probably try to make me feel bad about it, but I closed the door on that relationship 6 months ago, and I don't plan to open it again unless there are real changes and genuine admission of guilt. People sometimes ask me if I'll ever reconcile with my family. Honestly, I don't know. Maybe in a few years, if they finally accept that what they did was wrong and offer a real apology, without buts or justifications. But I'm not holding my breath waiting for that. What I do know is that I'll never again allow anyone, family or not, to manipulate me or abuse my trust that way. I learned that sometimes the most toxic people in your life share your blood, and that it's okay to distance yourself from them to protect your peace of mind and well-being. And I also learned that defending your boundaries, even when your whole family tells you you're wrong, is possible. It's difficult, it's painful, and sometimes it makes you question everything, but it's possible. And at the end of the day, I can look at myself in the mirror and know I did the right thing, that I didn't allow myself to be treated like a personal bank without consequences. So yeah, my sister had to work at Starbucks instead of living in luxury paid. For with stolen money, my parents had to take out a loan to pay for what they spent without permission, and I lost my family of origin, but gained my self-respect and peace of mind. Honestly, I think I made the best deal.